Sometimes when you live off-grid, figuring out how you want to store your food can be a little bit tricky. Hello fellow homesteaders. So when Brandon and I went off-grid, we did not have any sort of refrigeration or freezer unit for almost probably a little more than 6 years when we finally got a freezer. But we had to get a little bit crafty on how we stored our food. We definitely went to town a little bit more often and were able to get ice, but we had to kind of experiment with things and figure out, the longevity of things and how we could work with how well food stores. But one thing that we have done in the past, and this is a little different than what we've done in the past, but I went ahead today and made just a super simple little mini root cellar. I went ahead and dug a hole in a very nice shady spot under this big tree. It's pretty much shady all day. But I went ahead and dug down as far as I could. There were some rocks and roots in my way, and I didn't want to damage too many of the tree's roots. So I went ahead, and it's kind of a little bit unlevel on the bottom, but I went ahead and leveled it out with some stones and gravel. And part of that is not only for drainage to make it level, but it's also for some airflow within the tote that I've created. And creating the tote was super simple. I just had kind of a certain size hole punch that was about the same size as some PVC pipe that I had. So I went ahead and drilled 2 holes in the bottom of the tote, covered them with some mesh and just super glued it on. It's not super pretty, but just to keep bugs and stuff out. Not too worried about rodents between the cats and the rocks, so I'm more worried about bugs. And I went ahead and meshed those bottom holes, and then I drilled a hole in the top of the lid, and I went ahead and kind of positioned the PVC pipe in there, and I used just kind of metal dowel pieces that were leftovers from the Gabion Walipini project, using pieces of just cattle panel. But I just kind of stabilized the pipe in the top and put some mesh on the bottom and the top of the pipe, because there's a little bit of space between the pipe and the lid. So I put some mesh there, just kind of stabilized everything. And the reason for that pipe is so that the airflow from the bottom with the holes as well as the gravel is constantly being kind of sucked up out of the top hole, and having the PVC pipe kind of sticks it up in the warmer air, so to say, because hopefully, the soil temperature is cooler than the outside temperature, so it's going to be constantly kind of drawing the air through the tote. So you want good airflow within your tote, and that's just a little way to help that out. But then I went ahead, after I kind of situated the tote inside the hole, I went ahead and I rocked all the way around it to fill in the leftover of the hole, but then kind of outside to kind of berm it with stones, because those stones will absorb the sun's heat and hopefully essentially insulate, versus just the tote itself taking on the heat. And then at night those stones will release the heat, hopefully also creating some evaporative cooling within that tote, because as that hot air of the stones gets pulled out at night, it's going to be pulling more cool air from the ground up and through my tote. Hopefully that's the effect I'm hoping for. So I'll definitely need to put a little temperature probe in there to kind of see where it sits, and I definitely want to do a little bit more dirt mounding around it. I just kind of ran out in the immediate area, it got too rocky. As well as I don't want to use too much of the organic stuff. I want like actual dirt versus a lot of the organic matter that was under this tree. So I had to kind of search a little bit in order to berm it up. But it's a super simple little mini root cellar that I went ahead and I packed all my veggies in there. And it's definitely not the best to store all the veggies together, because all fruits and vegetables release chemicals that promote ripening, and so it's not the best to have them all in there together. They might ripen a little bit quicker, but that just means we need to eat some more veggies a little faster. But hopefully this will keep everything cool and fresher for at least a little bit longer than just kind of having them in the tote a little bit more outside and just kind of getting hot during the day. But hopefully this will keep everything cool and, like I said, fresh enough. And if it goes bad, the chickens will enjoy it or it'll go into the compost. But this will be a nice little experiment to see how this works in Arizona versus how this kind of aspect worked in Montana. And it's also kind of an experiment to give me ideas for what I might do in the future with the Gabion Walipini and how we want to do some sort of root cellar system on the build. I hope you enjoyed this little root cellar mini DIY thing, and happy storing. Peace.